Ladies and gentlemen, we received a package today from Dragon Shield, and yes, it is exactly what it looks like. We received the official Dragon Shield Art Matte Flesh and Blood sleeves, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I am so hyped about these. I'm straight up, okay, these sleeves represent so much more than just a high quality option for playing Flesh and Blood and other card games. What they represent for Flesh and Blood's sake is the expansion of the characters, the heroes, the game itself into products like this, and high quality products like this I feel have a fantastic future in the world of Flesh and Blood and collectibles as well. So now that we have these in hand, let's take a look at their overall quality, their execution. It's Dragon Shield, so if it's anything like any other sleeve that they've made, the quality is going to be pretty high, but it's always worth looking. We're going to unbox all of these. I've already opened these and sleeved a deck up to do some tests with it, which I'll show you right now. Let's get to it. First of all, I want to point a few things out. The box is beautiful. It's one of those that you see this, you want to pick it up on the store shelves. And this is again why I go back to the idea that this is a fantastic way to expand the brand, because we already have amazing art. We already have these really interesting looking heroes that you want to know more about. And because this is done through Dragon Shield, they do exactly that. They put the picture on the front, it makes you pick it up and grab it, and it makes you turn it around and look at just like everything around it. You could flip it to the bottom and you can see what they wrote on the bottom. You can, like look at the side for information. But really, this is the important part right here. It's a matte textured back. And this is sort of just talking about that matte texture back, not a brushed textured back. And so first of all, before I dive too far into it, I want to show you the differences in the matte back and the art brushed back. Okay, so this is what one of the Dragon Shield art sleeves looks like. In a way, they did a very similar bordering that they've done to the prints that you can order. They have custom card sleeves. By the way, Dragon Shield does take orders and print custom card sleeves. These are the ARMADA card sleeves that they sent me. I do want to point out they have the little symbol, the little Dragon Shield symbol down there. They didn't have to put it on this because it's like an official thing. That's one thing I wish Dragon Shield would do, is not force the little symbol down there so that they could print whatever. But I don't know, maybe there's like maybe there's a reason that they do that as far as like branding is concerned and misrepresentation. But this is the ARMADA printed sleeve through Dragon Shield, and you can see they do have some bordering options, and they chose to use the bordering option that kind of feathers out on these sleeves. I'm going to compare these in a moment to the deck I have sleeved up with the Prism sleeves. Overall, the quality of the print is fantastic, as you would expect, and of course the art is beautiful because it's Flesh and Blood art, just straight up. Like, Flesh and Blood does this is their thing. Fantastic aesthetics, and it pays off in products like this, which is why I think they should do more of them. There's a couple of things that overall strike me when I first picked this up. You can tell the difference by feeling the back here. You can tell the difference between a normal matte sleeve, which I'm sure I have a billion on my desk somewhere, so let me grab one of those. You can feel the difference, like here for example. This is a normal matte sleeve. This is their magenta color. There's a gloss to the normal matte right here. You can see the gloss there, the shine, and the texture is very orange peel in nature. Okay, it's very orange peel texture. Okay, you compare that to the other end of the spectrum, which is a brushed art sleeve. This, by the way, I've been playing this deck, which has been sleeved in these brushed art sleeves that I got from Dragon Shield. I've been playing this. It's my Kano deck. This has seen many, many shuffles, many, many reps, and overall it has held up very well in the brushed art fashion. This is very smooth. You can see if I turn it like this, it doesn't look like it's dimpled or anything. It is very, like, I mean, you can see the texturing right there. It's sort of like fine paper or papyrus or whatever you want to say. Very smooth overall. So the differences between the normal matte texture and this texture are stark. You can feel them. This is a really interesting product in that it is art matte sleeves. And so what that means is you're getting more of a textured feel, but it's not as gloss as this because they have the art that stands out, and the art overall I bet the process makes this feel and look different. It gives you more of a matte-like look. I don't want to say matte as in this, versus the gloss is what I'm referring to. So it gives it more of a just true to color look without that sheen getting in the way. And it provides a really interesting, just very interesting middle ground between the other options of feel, overall feel. And the shuffle feel is, believe it or not, unique to art matte sleeves compared to brushed art sleeves. So for example, this, like I said, is the Kano deck that I've been playing and you know, repping at skirmishes. The shuffle feels fantastic, as are, I would say, as are all of these new school Dragon Shield sleeves. They do a fantastic job overall of shuffling. But as you can see, these are very smooth. I've done this thousands of times at this point with this deck. And so it shuffles the same as it did when it came out of the box. Maybe a little bit slower overall, but not to the same point that you would recognize like on some of those old Dragon Shield sleeves. The same thing can be said about these cards that are all sleeved up in those custom DM ARMADA sleeves that are the same backing and the same texture. Now, that leads us to perhaps the most interesting of them all. These I just pulled out and shuffled maybe 100 times. I don't know, maybe less than 100 times. But this is a full deck. This is a Blitz deck, sleeved up. This is like old school Prism deck. I actually played this in the UPF leading up to Tales of Aria. And it feels unique to those other sleeves because there's a bit of that matte texture. And that matte texture has a different feel overall. But because it's also more flat and less like glossy, you get less of that sticky feeling. And I don't want to say that in a negative light. It just has a different feel with the straight up matte matte sleeves versus these art matte sleeves, which is just wildly interesting to me. I don't know if you've experienced these art matte sleeves before, but this is actually my first opportunity to get my hands on art matte sleeves. And I'm not gonna lie, I like the middle ground of feeling a bit of texture, and also having the kind of smoother shuffle feel without that sticky feeling of the gloss being heavily applied to a normal matte sleeve. Overall, I'm really impressed with the shuffle feel so far, but then again, I expect good shuffle feel from Dragon Shield. This is kind of it's one of their many things that they are known for. It's one of the many things that they do very well is overall shuffle feel. I do also want to point out, I've said this in several of my other sleeve videos, they have done a fantastic job of eliminating the very super sharp edges on Dragon Shield sleeves. Over the last couple of releases of their product, they have just all but taking care of that as an issue. You don't really poke yourself anymore. Maybe you never did. Maybe you're a way better shuffler than me. In fact, it's very likely that you are. But I would always poke myself, and they've done away with that, which is fantastic. One of the other things that I think is really important when talking about overall sleeves is how the front here, this front plastic, how it affects the look of cards, the look of foil cards particularly. So I'm going to take out this great library of Solana, which is my only copy of this card. So if I ruin it right now, then I'll be really sad, but I'll commit to it. Okay, so this is a Fabled. It is a very beautiful card. I probably could pick a shinier card, I'm not going to lie, but I'm just going to go with it because the subtle flex involved in using this card. No, because it was like towards the top of the deck. So this card has a good range of color. It's very rich in color, I should say, and it has some decent reflectiveness and foil. So as we put this in, let's see if we see any noticeable difference and change in quality of the card art or the coloring as it changes from, of course, going into the sleeve and out of the sleeve. You can see it as it goes in. Overall, I would say that there's virtually no change in color and like brightness of that. As far as and it's a little hard to catch on camera, but as far as the overall reflectiveness, you do lose a little bit from putting a foil card in any sleeve, but really it's not very noticeable. And I have a couple of other cards that can show us this exact thing from other games that are very reflective. For example, if you have, some Magic the Gathering foils. I'm sure there are people out there that have some Magic the Gathering foils. If you do, then you know that there's a couple of them out there that have some really, really beautiful pop and shine. So let me pull out a couple of those as well as some other cards and show you what those look like. Okay, so I have a collection of other cards from other card games here that can kind of represent and show us what it might look like for these to be sleeved. And it's also going to be good because all of these card games have slightly different dimensions, so if you want to know what it looks like to put one of these cards from your favorite card game into one of these sleeves, this will be good for you. So here is Helm of the Host, a fantastically beautiful little foil. Nothing fancy about this card outside of the fact that the foiling is really cool. Overall, like the way that they chose to mask the overall art with the foiling is very smart and very cool. So changing from in the sleeve and out of the sleeve, as you can see, it still pops a lot. There's still a lot of foiling to be seen and enjoyed. I have seen certain sleeves that like really mask overall the foil effect, and this one does to a certain extent, but I think there's always going to be a little bit lost when you put something basically just like a clear piece of something over it, because you're going to start catching glares from other ways. So you're definitely always going to get the most pop when you don't sleeve a card, but are you ever going to play your cards unsleeved in this day and age? Probably not. And so what you have here is still pretty good, I would say, still pretty good. So comparing that level of foiling to, for example, in another card game, this is from Varia. It's a really cool card game, and this card is very special. They sent this to me recently, and I'm actually doing a video on this and some of the other stuff that they've sent. This is what a Varia card with this dimension, basically any card that looks like it's this size and dimension would look like. There is a large overhang. I actually do prefer that. For me, it makes it a little easier to sleeve and unsleeve cards, and you don't see cards drifting as much. If you push down from the bottom, there's not like a bunch of like the card overhanging. Beautiful card itself, and one that does pop nicely. The foiling is one of those that feels more like a mirror finish, and the mirror finish does show through. Genesis Battle of Champions, this is not a foil card, but this is what it would look like if you had a Genesis card in one of these sleeves, and how it sort of the dimensions fit. And then this one I think is really big. The foiling in a game like Dice Masters and any other game that does this very heavy, like handed, really poppin' rainbow foil over like everything, this foiling, what does it look like? Because you can see it's very rainbow foily, and as you put this in there, you're still catching, like for example, I'm looking right here, all of that rainbow foiling is still popping through. So if you play a card game that does rainbow foils in this way, or even like like some Japanese card games that really just commit to their foiling in like crazy cool ways, that is going to come through. As you can see, it's coming through on this card. So all of those things I think are very important to take into account when picking some good sleeves, and as I expected, Dragon Shield does a fantastic job overall of that. So that's what Prism sleeves look like. I've not opened Oldhim, so let's go ahead and crack this and see what Oldhim looks like. I'm going to imagine it's going to be pretty gosh darn similar overall as I cut through this plastic and then fail to cut through the plastic and then cut through the plastic again. As they say, second time's the charm. I think that's what they say. Also want to point this out. I think this is really cool. Just tucking the Legend Story Studios logo and like the info, especially shouting out the artist. Good for them. I think you should shout out the artist. This art is incredible, and the artists that put this together do a fantastic job, so they should be shouted out on the sleeves itself. Good for Legend Story Studios and Dragon Shield both to combine for that. These look really nice overall. The coloring is true to what you would expect and true to the art that was delivered. As you can see, the art on the box, I would actually say, this is weirdly enough, I would say that the art on the box is actually a little less vibrant in comparison to the art on the sleeves. I did not expect that, I'm not going to lie. I expected, if anything, for it to be the other way around, but maybe on this side it's a little bit more vibrant. But that's interesting. That's what Oldhim looks like. It's what you would expect. I mean, like, if it would be weird if I opened up Lexi, for example, right here, and it was like so out of the realm of what it's supposed to look like, and I don't expect that to be the case, but this is why we do these things live. Second time's the charm is what they say, and that's what I'm going with. So you have to cut twice. You have to do it. I'm not gonna lie, I opened these and then I started filming this video after, like 100 or so shuffles on the deck you just saw. I was very pleasantly surprised with a lot of these things, and I expected high quality, and Flesh and Blood and Legend Story Studios and Dragon Shield have clearly delivered. This one does feel a little bit more, I wouldn't say washed out, but it does feel, as far as the art is concerned, a little less poppin' in comparison from the colors. But let's see if I change. Oh yeah, maybe it's just the singles. No, that's pretty consistent. It still looks good though. It still looks solid. And it could actually be, because I'm really just staring at these on the camera. Could be that my camera doesn't do a great job of it. In person, it looks just as good, probably a little bit better. But that's kind of how eyes work. Your eyes will always take the color a little bit better than a camera. Though I try my best to give you as clear and accurate a view of what I'm seeing by adjusting my camera settings in every way, shape, or form to make it look as true to form as I can. So hopefully you appreciate that, and hopefully that comes through. Chain, the final one. Oh, see, purples can always be popping. Purples always pop well. That is a fantastic looking sleeve right there. Now, the interesting thing about these is these are the 4 art sleeves that we know of. And Legend Story Studios partnered up with Dragon Shield to produce more than just these. They are going to be sending out custom sleeves as part of the next ProQuest season. And we know that there's going to be some amount of sleeves printed, and they're not necessarily these hero sleeves. So I am very interested to see what sleeves they end up running with and like what arts they choose from the game to print. I am of the opinion that they should definitely leverage the beautiful art that they have in Flesh and Blood in every way, shape, or form imaginable to provide high-quality products like this one to the people that love this game. I think this is the way that they can expand their brand and just diversify in general. I think it's the way they should go, and I think honestly, I think it's the way that you and I, perhaps, if we agree on this, I think it's the way that we want to see the game grow in a, outside of the game sense. Like, if we want this brand of Flesh and Blood and just Legend Story Studios to be successful, this is a fantastic way for them to do that, because these characters are beautiful, the art, the aesthetic is fantastic. Why not spread it to more people who could fall in love with it in the same way? So overall, I'm really impressed by these sleeves. I can't wait to see what else they put out there, especially what special designs they're going to pick and what art they're going to pick for ProQuest season. If you enjoyed this video, if you got something out of it, if you're excited about these, feel free to make that number go to the next number. It's like a number to a number. It's very simple math. And look, only one more person needs to press a red button for that number to change to a larger number. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.